Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. It's our favorite day of the week. Today is Wednesday, May 12th, and I have my good friend and business partner, Jill McAuley, with us as our guest today. I wanted to invite her to be with us today on Finding Certainty for several reasons, but one of those is that it's her birthday tomorrow. So kind of a birthday gift to me, honestly, to have you on my show, Jill, but I appreciate you taking some time. I know you're taking most of the week off, so it's not tomorrow. Sorry, it's next Wednesday, isn't it?
Nope, tomorrow.
No, tomorrow. That's what I meant. I think I've got confused because I was thinking it was last Wednesday, and then the whole conversation. We're going to talk about that today, but but thanks for being here. I know you're pretty much taking most of this week off, so thanks for taking some time to be here on Finding Certainty with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me a birthday present for my birthday.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, we get to see each other all the time, but everybody else doesn't get to hear from you very often. So, at least every year or two, I got to get you on here, right, to check in and tell your story and catch up. And, there's a lot going on in Jill McAuley's life. We got to talk about it.
Great. Let's do it.
So, you have a unique perspective here at Certainty because you've been here from almost the very beginning. And I thought for anyone who isn't familiar with you, we could maybe go back and tell your story about how we met, right? And how you came on and became a part of Certainty Management and so forth and so on, kind of your journey, because I think it's a testament to you and your just how incredible you are, your talents and your skills and so forth and so on. But it's also, I think, in a very real sense, a great kind of example of what the company has gone through too, and what you're like the embodiment of certainty, right? As much as anybody, right? As much or more than anybody on our team, I think you are just a great example. And so I thought we could talk a little bit about that, and then I want to talk about your experience last year that was pretty exciting that we'll go into, and maybe tell a little bit about your story, because a week ago was a pretty important anniversary. And if you don't mind, we can talk a little bit about that and just some of the lessons you've learned and things you've gained and, so forth and so on. So before we know it, time will be over. It goes fast, as you know. So do you remember how you and I met exactly? It's been a while. My memory's getting bad the older I get, but yours is probably still good. You're a little younger than me.
Yeah, I'll fill you in on the experience you had.
Yeah.
Well, our parents got together. Well, actually, our fathers got together in Southern California, and then they went their separate ways with their lives. Then after 50 years, your dad called my dad, and they reconnected. And he happened to reach out to us while we were on vacation in Utah. And so at that time, we had some space in our vacation. And so we went and visited your parents at their place where they live in Salt Lake. And while we were there, he just was telling me about what his son was up to and his kids. And then later he called me and asked if I might be interested in learning what you were doing and what you were working on, and see if there was a potential there for maybe me working with you and what you were building. And I didn't have a job at the time, and it sounded interesting. So we got on a Zoom, and I kind of learned more details. And then as they say, the rest is history. And then we didn't live in the same state. So I think the first time we met in person was when we were on vacation in California. But yeah, that was kind of the very beginning. Goes back, that was our initial contact, but it kind of was written in the stars since our dads were children.
I know. Isn't it crazy to think that they've known each other for 70 plus years now, right? 70, 75 years. I mean, they're both in their 80s now, and they grew up in Long Beach. And isn't it interesting how some of our relationships, we hold on to them and we have them our whole lives. Others we lose, right? Some we lose and then they come back, right? Or we reconnect. And I saw a friend of mine when I was in Utah last year that was my best friend in high school, right? We joined the Army together. We went to boot camp in New Jersey. We went to our advanced training in San Antonio. We did National Guard, Army Reserve drills together for years, right? And they called us the Bobsey twins because we look like each other. We're both 6'4" and blonde and kind of we look like brothers, honestly. And but I hadn't seen him for years, right? We kind of lost touch over the years, and then we finally connected, kind of like your dad and my dad did. And yeah, isn't it interesting how one chance meeting, right, one conversation can change our lives, right? Certainly has with you and me getting to be friends and coming to work together and building this company. I mean, I feel that way. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, man, that was the dumbest thing I ever did, right? Right? Hopefully not.
Definitely not. It is something, hindsight is interesting. I know you talk about that a lot, but the ability to look back and see where our path has gone, where we've traveled, and where divine interaction come into that place. And I think for me, the two of us meeting and being able to participate and be a part of certain team is definitely, I think, feels divine. And I just, also as I recall the transition I've gone through myself in the past, 6 years since we had started, that I've become a much different person. I've learned so many new skills. I've learned so many new, so many new people, and even just seeing pictures of myself from 6 years ago, it even impacted the way I honestly look and communicate and the confidence that I have. So it's kind of almost a schedule.
I feel the same way, right? Not just since meeting you, but just since stepping out into the dark and starting certainty management, and I talk a lot about wanting to start the kind of company I had always wanted to work for, right? The kind of looked for a long time, hadn't found, and in a little bit of a sense, it was forced on me because I was working for this solar company, and there was a bunch of these young millennials who their idea of a company meeting was a big kegger and just wasn't a culture or a scene I wanted, right? So I started looking at other opportunities and putting resumes out. In your 50s, right, when you're applying for jobs, you're interviewing with 20-year-olds. It's a hard process, right? Even getting people to respond to your resume, let alone interviewing with somebody, I was like, you know what? This sucks, right? And that was kind of an impetus for me to start my own business and starting certainty management. And initially, we offered a solar option, right? And then we started with Nuquo, as you know, our cost reduction service. And then it's evolved since then. But I look back on who I was and where I was 7 years ago, and I feel like I've grown so much. I've watched you grow so much. And Victoria, our COO, has grown so much. And Brian and Andy and Liz. I mean, I just feel like it was a good move, right? We've come a long ways, and I'm so grateful that we did it, right? I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs say, I wish I'd done it 20 years ago, right? But I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're spot on when you say that you feel different, you look different, you sound different, because I have observed that, not just in myself, but most definitely have seen it in you. And just maturing and growing and gaining these new skills and this confidence and belief in yourself, and it's been awesome, right? It's one of my favorite things about what we do, because it's not just happened in you and me, but I've seen it in a lot of people on our team. And I always say how humbled I feel that people even want to be on our team, and that that we're attracting great people, right? I just feel really grateful and humbled by it. But you're one of the shining examples of that, JB.
Thank you. Well, thank you for just the opportunity for believing in
Hi, Howard.
Howard.
There's Jill's dad in the background.
So, everyone's.
Speaking of Howard, right?
But I think I didn't really realize the value that work gives you, that and the people that you work with as part of that can bring to your life. I guess I never really had work experience, and so I just didn't really get it. And I guess you just spend a lot of time with people that you're working with. But when you're doing something that you're passionate about and that has value and brings value to the world and to yourself, that it really is more of an image on and has been, and I really am interested in.
Yeah, that's a really good insight. I look at people who don't work, who could maybe, who are, there's many like my wife who lost her career and doesn't work because she can't. She has barely the energy to get out of bed and take a shower, go to the grocery store once a week or something, and it's just not an option for her. But I see others who could work. Maybe they have a silver spoon or a trust fund or something, or maybe they're on welfare or something. Nothing against them, but I do feel like they're missing out on this great opportunity to work hard, right? And the satisfaction that comes from it, and the growth that comes from it. And and I don't think it matters what you do. And there's lots of different kinds of careers, and one isn't necessarily better than the other. It's just the inherent value of work. God knew what he was doing, right? When he told Adam and Eve to start working, right? I don't know. I mean, what do you think some of the traits that you've developed or skills you've developed over these last several years? Because I know you did work before a little bit. You helped your dad with his business and some of these things, but that's different than having a job that you're needed and expected to be there, and people are relying on you every day, right? But what do you think some of the biggest benefits that you've acquired that have come out of it are?
That's a really great question. Gosh, leadership skills. I think holding myself accountable, knowing that people are waiting for you, relying on you to do a job and to do well, because they need it's part of it's part of
the bigger machine, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Part of the engine, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, necessary part of something larger. And so I just reliable and consistent. And so I think that's great. I think also communicating, helping people feel like they're able to, do pretty my job of management, helping new people who come to our company get connected to all of our resources and help them get going and get off the right foot. And so that I feel that I'm able to kind of see what their needs are, help them answer their questions, and help them feel at home. So it's I guess
it's so important, Jill.
Yeah.
We should probably explain what you do so people listening understand.
Yeah.
So, and maybe your journey a little bit, because when you started as basically my executive assistant, right? Your admin assistant. And then very quickly you started taking on more responsibilities and more just duties, I guess, more different types of jobs, and you've worn a lot of hats, right, over the last several years. And I think that the best work and the best work environments are when we gravitate to something and we get to work in that space, right? You kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like, what you're good at, and what you're not good at, and I hope for this for everyone, that they get to do what they love, right? Do what they're good at. I think it was Dan Martell in his book. He said it's called "Buy Back Your Time," and he says that you should hire out anything you're not good at or don't enjoy, right? That's the dream, right? Right. But I think it's interesting. It's been fun watching you because you've gone from an executive assistant to then an executive and a partner, and now you're head of HR and admin, you're executive vice president. It's been fun watching you not only develop the skills, but gravitate and kind of transition to something that I hope you really enjoy, but I know you're really good at it, right? And that's kind of welcoming people to the company and helping them get started, helping them land on their feet. I mean, you do the entire onboarding process, and that's so important, I think, for anyone in a new position to feel welcomed and supported and get off to a good start. And you do an amazing job. So
Thank you.
hopefully you enjoy it. I don't know. Do you enjoy it? I think you do.
It's fun. I get to talk to a lot of new people, meet people as part of it. And that's always, I believe everybody has a story. They've been on a journey themselves, and whatever is in their life story that's brought them to management. I get to learn and kind of assimilate all the things that they're experiencing, and then how that fits into the culture and what the offerings we have, and they're the best match in that, right? And so helping them smoothly transition into what we're doing here, helping them get off going in the right direction.
Yeah. I've said before, you're like the face of the company. You're the first person you're not necessarily the first person they meet. They'll interview with a couple of other executives, but then you're the welcome committee. It's funny. Bill Gans always says he's the CEO of S3 Energy. He always says he's the Walmart door greeter, right? His job is to make people feel welcome. And I see that as part of your job too, and it's so important, right? Because it kind of frames, in a very real sense, I think, their whole experience here. First impressions, right? So, back to my question though, what do you think are some of the skills you've gained or the benefits you've gained in the process?
I've learned some technical skills. I have a lot of computer programs and anything like that. Really, I've definitely grown in that area, being able to navigate digitally. I was newer to kind of emerged like AI tools, and that's been really helpful. And helping me grow mentally. And I goodness, I think leadership skills, like being able to see people's worth, like I was saying, potential, and help them as well. I love it. I think it's a Stephen Covey quote. He said, "Leadership is communicating to people their worth and potential so clearly that they're inspired to get them in themselves." And so I think I'm hopefully developing that.
I love that. I'm having a little bit of difficulty hearing you. You're cutting out a little bit. Is it the mic is far away, maybe, or?
I'm getting an echo personally.
I don't hear that.
Okay.
I can hear you, but it's kind of like a little bit challenging.
Okay.
But that's life, right? Challenges, trials. I mean, life comes at us fast, and sometimes we hit a tree, or sometimes.
Oh, you're fine.
I mean, I look at my life, and I've had so many trials, right? I've come from a family who's been married forever. Everybody stays married, and I've been married 3 times, right? Had my heart completely shattered twice, and gone through death, divorce, bankruptcy, legal challenges, financial challenges. I feel like I've been through Hades and back, right? And yet you go through those trials just like work. Work stretches you and helps you grow and helps you become who you should be, who the Lord wants us to be, who we're supposed to be. And same thing can be said about our trials, right? I mean, building this company, we've been through several trials and vendors that didn't work and roadblocks and dead ends and figuring out who we are and who we're the best vendor partners and the best reps and so forth and so on. It's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, it feels like, right? Which kind of leads us to your story, right? I mean, you are 18 years old with this bright future ahead of you. You're a singer, you're a horseback rider, you're a musician, you're just finished your first semester of college?
My first year.
Yeah, first year at Brigham Young University, Idaho. Back then it was probably called Rick's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hence they changed the name. But so, if you know Jill and you're on this call or on this watching or listening, or if this is your first time, maybe you've stumbled across our show, Jill has a very interesting story. It is not a story many of us would want to go through. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but I also have been so inspired by you and your story and how you've just approached life, right? I mean, I think that's the mark of someone who truly achieves certainty in their life is a person who overcomes what life throws at them. Because life isn't easy for any of us, right? We all have our own different kinds of challenges, but the key is do we give up and throw in the towel, or do we keep going and growing? And you've done exactly that. I mean, you are doing it. You continue to do it. So do you want to maybe just tell your story real quick?
Yeah.
The anniversary was 1 week ago. That's why I said last Wednesday was a big day. Has it been 22 years?
26.
26 years?
I know.
Man, you're old. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm yeah, so when I was 18, 26 years ago, I'll be 45 tomorrow.
I remember when you turned 40, Jill. That was 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Going on. I'm a lot older than you, so I can say that. But
I know. Time, this is hard. And I can't believe that how much my life was 26 years ago when I was in a rollover accident when I was 18.
yeah. Driving home from college, right? Was it for Christmas or end of the year?
The end of the year, I was headed home for the summer, and I fell asleep while I was sleeping, and my car rolled, and I suffered a severe spinal injury. So that completely paralyzed me. And I'm a quadriplegic. So I use a wheelchair every day. Just have limited no use of my leg, use of my arm, and use my hand for repairs.
She definitely has use of her mouth. I mean, I hear all the time about what I'm doing and not doing. Just kidding.
I know. I'm so grateful that I didn't sustain like a very severe brain damage that retains the ability to use my mouth, my words. My family will tell you I've yeah, perfecting and improving the skill of giving direction. In other words,
Jill's not opinionated at all. I'm just going to say this publicly, public record. Not at all. Just kidding.
I won't deny
You know I love you. I'm just kidding.
it. Yeah, but that's true though. I've had to learn how to use my words, my ability. This is one of my greatest assets because I have to give direction to the caregivers who help me and all the people around me. Because I need a lot of help. Yeah, I could not do really anything in my life without the assistance of a lot of amazing people, including my family. So after
See,
my
can I interject there because I want to make a comment?
yeah,
I think you said I couldn't do anything without a lot of help. I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of things you can't do physically, eating or getting out of bed or things like that. But you do so much on your own. As with our team, in the ways you serve, in the ways you. So I think you got to qualify that statement, Jill. I'm going to call you on it
yes,
because you do a lot for others that your mom and dad, and sure, they got you out of bed that morning, or your caregiver got you dressed, helped you get dressed, or and without them, life would be very difficult, if not impossible. But you do a lot. You do a lot for others.
thank you.
Just going on record. Just going on record to say. Okay.
I appreciate that. I've had to learn over these years how to feel like an independent person because I've been in some ways like always be limited, but at the same time remain keep my own energy and the things that make me who I am, which are ultimately my own truest value, not just the fact that I'm a child of them. That there aren't my limited physical abilities doesn't diminish or take away from the fact that I have an infinite worth of you.
100%.
Yeah.
I think our trials, among other things, they help open us up to those understandings and that knowledge, right? It's not just a belief, it's a knowledge that we gain that I think in the process helps us achieve our potential, right? Not just our own potential, but the potential of all of those we touch and the potential of those around us. I know it's been a lot of work, for example, for your dad and your brother and your family to help support you these last 26 years. But if I asked any one of them, I bet they would say that they have served you and loved doing so and have grown so much in the process, right? And maybe that was an experience they needed, right, to become who they were going to be. I think so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes we look at things as trials, but they were in fact blessings. Maybe it takes us a little while to look back on them and understand the blessings, but that's one thing I think you do pretty good at. I know you have your good days and bad days, but you seem to have just an amazing perspective on that point. Would you agree?
Yeah.
It's a perspective question, maybe. It takes time.
Absolutely. Because I believe that life is not it. We are human beings and we will continue after this. And so when I see today as everything, when I have that minimum view, it can be very frustrating. If I just think everything is all happening right now, then that can be, yeah, just that can be, yeah, frustrating. So yeah, having that perspective is crucial.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I talk about, you've heard me say this to the team about how we go through what I call the confidence cycle, right? And we start out on anything in life, whether it's a new job, a relationship, maybe a move to a new country or something. We always start out at the bottom, right? Some form of uncertainty, right? Maybe even a little doubt, maybe some fear, maybe some absolute terror, right? We're terrified, right? What's ahead of us? And I'm sure you felt like that when you had your accident. Your whole life changed, and you're at the bottom rung of that stairway thinking, oh my gosh, what is ahead for me? What's my life going to be like now? Right? And it had changed. Your paradigm shift was instant. Right? And just like mine was when I was married with 5 kids and really proud of my little family, and suddenly I was single, going and picking them up and having to drop them on. That was the hardest thing for me, taking my kids back and having to leave them and see them go in the house as a little family, especially when another guy came in the picture, and I had to leave them and go home by myself. My life had changed dramatically overnight. And yet, you go from that first step of fear and uncertainty and doubt and to the next one, which I always say is hope, right? You hope that there's something better, something more. You hope you can learn the skills or gain the faith or build the relationship, right? Tackle this challenge, whatever. And then I think hope, in my mind, hope comes even before faith, right? Hope is a little glimmer of maybe possibility, and faith is, okay, I believe this and do this. I have faith that it will get better. I think as evidence will start to appear, it gets into belief. We believe it's happening. Maybe we see it coming together or getting better. That grows into knowledge. And eventually perfect knowledge, which we call certainty, right? But every one of us go through that. I don't care what the challenge is, what the hurdle, what the disease, the divorce, the tragedy, suddenly you're single, whatever it is. I think we all go through that process. And if we understand that, then we don't have to think, why me, or what do I do now? We just think, okay, I got to get to the next step. Might take me a day, it might take me 10 years, but I'm going to work and keep moving forward to get to that next step, because I know it's all moving upward. I don't know. That's my perspective. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love it. That we don't often see the whole picture, but if we take the next step and try to move forward, even as small as it might be, or just moving it in a direction, if we just believe and have faith that you're talking about, that I think if we have the desire to use, to give back, to be of service, to develop ourselves in some way, some skills that we have, and whatever capacity that we have, that I think the Lord will put us in work. The Lord will give opportunities in front of us that we can, be a benefit to the system and others, and the kingdom, as I believe.
100%. I want to come back to that. We're going to go to a quick break and be real short, and we'll come right back. But I want to touch on that topic more, of where you said the Lord gives us opportunities. Right? He puts us to work. I believe He wants us to become individuals that He can trust. Right? And I want to talk a little bit about that. So hang tight, guys. If you're listening, we appreciate you being here with us. Don't go away. Be right back.
Certainty Management can help create more certainty in your life with our deep discount health insurance options, even for 1099s, part-time employees, volunteers, and more. Pay less to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your team. Call 888-684-3122 for a free quote today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at certaintyteam.com. That's certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
If you're a nonprofit in need of funding, we can help. Certainty Management is a cost reduction firm that also helps churches, schools, sports teams, and other nonprofits raise unlimited zero-cost funding. Best of all, you don't have to sell anything or ask for donations. Call 888-684-3122 to learn more today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at certaintyteam.com. That's certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
You're listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing.
All right, we're back. So you were saying, right before the break, you think the Lord, He knows us, right? He puts us to work. He gives us these opportunities to grow, and I think we go through these steps. I heard once it was it's in a book called Approaching Zion. It's by a former Brigham Young University professor named Hugh Nibley, and he was talking about repentance, right? And he said, how do you define a righteous man or woman, right? And he says, how do you know a man or woman is righteous? He asked that question. And they said, a righteous man, a righteous woman is one who is repenting. And I thought, that sounds backwards. If you're righteous, you don't have to repent, right? Back when I was like 18, right? That's what I thought. But I love that he went on to say, none of us are perfect, right? We all make mistakes. We've got to constantly be improving and working and picking ourselves up when we stumble and giving ourselves a break. Don't beat ourselves up. He talks about he talked about repentance as a stairway. And he says the person at the bottom stair who's looking up that stairway and trying to move up it as fast as they can is better off than the person at the top step who's looking back down or sliding back down. Right? He goes, and the worst thing we can do is to look at someone else who seems to be skipping 5 stairs at a time and think like, man, I'm worthless. Right? It's taken me a long time to move up one, and they're skipping 5 at a time. And that's the worst thing we can do is try to compare our situation, our skills, our challenges, our trials, our strengths, right, to someone else. So the only person we are competing with is ourselves. And I just love that, talking about the confidence cycle, the repentance stairway, kind of some similar, principles woven in there, I think. But so expand on that. When you say the Lord's going to put us to work, what do you think that means? Maybe do you have any more thoughts on that topic?
I think we each have gifts and specific talent that we've been given, that we've been blessed with, and they're individual to each of us. That we all have spirits and distinct things that make us who we are, and we are willing to see those, recognize those in ourselves, and have a desire to bless other people and bless just our fellow brothers and sisters, that the Lord will give us opportunities to use those to help others and to grow and improve ourselves as well. Just make the world a better place. I love that staircase idea that you're talking about. I think that as we improve and grow and share our skills and gifts with others, that we are all just kind of spiraling upward together, that we're all improving together. The rising tide raises all ships, or
Right.
the thing is that we can all grow together. It isn't a competition. We don't have to compare, like you were talking about, that when we do that, we're really just dragging ourselves down, and there isn't any value in that unless it's a healthy competition, which I think sometimes is good as well. But ultimately, in the end, it isn't a competition. That we all have our own path and our own journey that we're on, and we can help each other and cheer each other along the way. Being a cheerleader, I think, is really important. But I think that if we have that greater perspective to just and hope in our hearts, like just show me where I can be of service today, show me who I can help today, and who might need what I have, what I bring to the table, who might need that, and where can I have
Have
what
an
use
impact,
could
right?
be, what use could be, more use could I be.
I love that I guess it's a scripture or a verse that says, "Here I am, put me to work." Right? I don't remember the exact verbiage, but "Here I am, send me." Right? You see the sign if you're watching the video portion. You see this sign behind me that says, "I am ready now." And if you look closely in the background, you can see the word. It says "prepared." It's a story from our church history about a time when some of the early pioneers were crossing the plains and were stuck in the mountains, and they were freezing. They were dying, and the leader of the church in Utah asked for volunteers, and one of the guys, he said, "I'm ready now. Send me now." Others said, "I can go, but it's going to take me time to get together. I can leave in 2 weeks." And his response was, "Send me now. I'm ready." And I think there's something to be said. I mean, we talked a little bit about your job with our company, about the first impression and helping someone feel welcomed and supported. And I love when I see you doing those things. Like you've done several bios where you tell somebody's story. And I just love that, because I see that as your most important job, Jill, is helping the members of our team feel valued and appreciated, right? Supported. We're all helping in different ways. I'm helping them close. Victoria's keeping things going behind the scenes. You're helping them feel valued and getting them onboarded and getting them launched, and et cetera, et cetera. But I do think that as we're going through life and facing our own trials of different forms and fashions, if we can stop and look outward, it is perhaps the single most important, most impactful thing we can do to raise our own sights, right? They say if you're having a hard time, go serve somebody, right? If you're struggling with depression, get out and go volunteer somewhere, right? If you're sick, pick up the phone. That's one thing I've been really impressed with my dad. He has a lot of health issues. He's in a lot of pain, in a wheelchair. He's constantly struggling with his health, and he's making some improvements lately. But my mom says the best thing for him to do is pick up the phone and call people and talk to them. Just kind of makes their day, and he forgets about his leg pain and stuff when he's on the phone calling your dad or calling old friends or old coworkers, and he'll just call and chat with them for an hour, and he completely forgets about his leg pain when he's doing that. She's like, "Dad, John, call somebody." That's her main advice to him, Tim. "Dad, John, go call someone."
He called me the other day.
I mean, he's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And it raises whoever he's talking to. It helps them more than it helps him, but in the process, he gets helped. I think there's an eternal principle in there somewhere, Jill.
Absolutely. Yep. Two great things. Love God and love others.
So have you ever heard that phrase or that comment about becoming someone the Lord can trust? Have you heard that before?
Maybe.
There's a really great book by Clayton M. Christensen. It's called The Everyday Missionary. And he's talking about how we should... You don't have to leave and go on a full-time mission to Africa, to be a missionary. You don't have to go on a 2-year mission to Madagascar or somewhere, or Pocatello, Idaho, wherever, right? You can be a missionary, or in other words, a disciple of Christ, a representative of Christ. You can do it in everything you do. And in his book, this is where I got this from. He talks about, he said, one of our goals in life should be to become congregations the Lord can trust, that we can become individuals and families and business owners and men and women and that the Lord can trust. I'm curious to know your opinion, though. What do you think he means by that? Gospel according to Jill, right?
I love that idea. That's really powerful. I think this life is kind of a trust exercise between ourselves and God, and what really is here. As this idea is its ability to trust that when He sends us on an errand or calls us or gives us a prompt that we're going to be able to recommend an answer. Even if it requires us to change our path or change our direction, that if it's the work that He needs, that He knows that we will respond, we'll hear an answer.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, we could pack a lot into that whole topic. I just realized your sound gets much better if I mute my mic, so maybe it's my mic that's causing you problems.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, it usually comes down to me doing something wrong. Try it now. I just turned my fan off too. Maybe that will help. Try talking. Let me see how you sound.
Okay, does it sound better to you?
Way better. Let me try muting my mic.
Okay, how's this?
That's even better. I'm sure it's my system. I have this really nice Rode mic and soundboard system, and it's probably overworking or something. But so let's peel back the layers on this for a minute, because I think we talk about this confidence cycle, right? From fear to certainty, or confidence, from repentance stairway, from really just getting back on the path to all the way up and giving up or stopping trying and sliding back down. I think the same thing happens when we build trust, right? We build trust in others. We build trust in a relationship, trust in a family, trust in coworkers, and trust with the Lord. When he says, I want you to be someone I can trust, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said we need to be ready, like I was saying, ready to act when the opportunity presents itself, right? When he prompts us to do something, we get an impression, or maybe someone comes, we cross paths with somebody who needs our help, or whatever, right? There's 101 different examples. When I think of a congregation the Lord trusts, that means a new person shows up at church one day, and do they feel welcomed, right? Do they feel loved? Do they feel like an outsider, or do they feel like a member of the family, right? And there's a lot we can do to help with that. Whatever, it's your job at welcoming people to our company. And are you a person they can trust? Are we a team they can trust? A company they can trust? Same thing happens with church. Same thing happens in a lot of scenarios. But I ask myself this question a lot: what can we do to develop that trust, and whether it's with each other or with the Lord? Got any ideas?
Yeah, I think something
that sounds way better right now, right?
Yay,
just so you know. Yeah.
Something that I think stops me from being someone who action, someone who responds, and even if I'm ready or feel ready, is when I feel like I'm going to be rejected, or if I let my limitations or my imperfections, or the areas where I feel weaken, if I let those keep me from responding and acting, because I feel that it's not going to be it's just not going to be good enough for I'm not up to the task, but I think the trust comes when we feel or see an opportunity and feel impressed to act or to go and do, and then we just trust that we are going to bring what we have, no matter how great or small that capacity or that offering is, and just believe that the Lord is going to make up the difference or increase our capacity to meet the need that's there. And I have to do that. I do that every day because there's I only have so much capacity, as do we all, but I have to trust that the Lord will strengthen my weaknesses and help what I'm offering and sacrificing be enough for what is required. And that's a huge trust. It's like the Indiana Jones, right? The path that's before him that he can't see and has to take that step of faith, hoping that the way will be made, that the path will appear as he acts and goes and does the thing and tries to walk across this huge crevasse. Sometimes it's that courageous.
It's funny you bring that up. I was thinking of the exact same example of him. He was going after the Holy Grail, right? This prized possession, which for us, I think, is whatever we're trying to accomplish in life. But he did have to step out into the dark. And it goes right in line with this stairway we're talking about, moving to that next step. We don't always know how to get there, right? We want to go from hope to faith, or from faith to belief. We want to get from fear to certainty, but the path isn't always clear. I mean, it certainly wasn't as we've been building certainty management. I felt like we're broke more often than we weren't, right? And we're trying to figure out the best path to build this company and keep it going and bless people's lives. And yet so much of it, we're making it up as we go along, right? And trying to figure it out. And, but then we get little evidences, like we said, little insights that you're doing all right. You're on the right path. Doors and windows open and blessings fall in our lap. Before we run out of time, I want to talk about your experience last year, because we're talking to a celebrity today, everybody. Miss Jill McAuley. I'm joking a little bit, but Jill last year was nominated as Miss Wheelchair Washington and was invited to come to Grand Rapids, Michigan for the National Miss Wheelchair America pageant. And you and I have talked a little bit about this, but you've shared some insights, and we saw pictures and video. The team were all cheering her on as she went out and took number 5 overall.
Yeah.
But was that sort of a surreal experience, going through that and thinking, what we're talking about, right? Look how far I've grown, how much I've grown, how far I've come in the last several years. I'm guessing here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like it must have been an experience where you felt like the Lord came down and said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You're doing all right. Here's an evidence." Is that safe to say? I mean, I'm guessing here, but
Absolutely. I hadn't really thought about it until just before I was invited to participate in the state competition. And so as I learned about it, I just really felt impressed, and just something settled on my heart that this was something I needed to do. And essentially, it's an advocacy program that has a title holder for each state, that the states that participate, and they go out and choose something that they want to have their focus on, their platform be. And so for me, it was mental health awareness for people who are in wheelchairs or have disabilities. And it just allowed me to have a different perspective for a year, to see myself as like a voice for people who are in a similar situation to mine. And it was neat to see how I was able to use the experiences that I'd had to speak to and be a voice and advocate for those who were going through what I was and had been. And yeah, it was very fulfilling. I was, had a crown and a sash, but that was just a small part of it. But it did give me, it was a good reminder to, just think like, as this title, what do I need to do? How do I need to act? How do I need to carry myself? What's my purpose? And so it did remind me of, my ultimate purpose that I have in life, and that I also, have a mission. I have a calling as just as a human, as a child of God, and to remember that just this value and our identity and this purpose that we have because of our ultimate identity, and how am I going to act because of that. So it was very neat, and it was fulfilling, and I'm grateful for it. And now I participate and I'm on the board for the Miss Wheelchair Washington nonprofit, and help out with the current title holder and ones coming in the future. So it's a
That's
cycle.
that's so awesome, Joe. We are so happy for you
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
proud of you. I feel like my little chick grew up to be a hen, right? And winning blue ribbons, right? um, I look at how much you've grown in the last 6 years, and as I said at the very beginning, I feel like you are an embodiment of certainty. You're almost the same age. I mean, we just hit year 7, right? You've been with us for 6 of those, and it's been really fun watching our little Jilly Bean grow into executive vice president Jill McAuley, right? And seeing where the company's going, and knowing we would not have gotten there without you and your sacrifices and your efforts. I feel the same way about Victoria. I feel the same way about Andy and Frank and Brian and Liz and the team members that have contributed so much to who we are and who we're becoming. And we talk about becoming individuals the Lord can trust. I think we're seeking to become a company our customers can trust, and have a bigger and bigger impact. I think one of the things I've learned over the last 40 years, right, throughout my career, but the last 7 especially, is I believe the Lord gives us opportunities, but He also expects us to be proactive and to think outside the box, and to step into the dark, and be actively engaged in becoming more. I don't think He's happy with us when we sit in this passive role, right, in status quo. I really don't. I think the whole analogy of the talents, right? He wants us to multiply those talents, and I was talking with my assistant today, who replaced you, our Carmen, right? Trying to fill your shoes, and she and I were talking about the fears that we have. I've talked to her about coming to visit us in the States, and maybe even moving over to the U.S. eventually. And as she lives in South Africa, and a lot of issues there. And she's like, I don't know, I have a lot of anxiety about this, Patrick, this idea. And I said, do you know what the biggest fear most of us face is? If you surveyed 1,000 people, you get different responses, right? Fear of death, fear of the end, of the dark, fear of deep waters, public speaking. I mean, Jay Leno said most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy, right? But I said, what do they all come down to? They all come down to the same fear. Do you know what it is?
The unknown.
That's right. You've heard me talk about it, right? It's the fear of the unknown. And ultimately, I believe, whatever we want to accomplish, if we want to become more, want to become someone the Lord can trust, we have to overcome that fear of the unknown. And usually it's okay if it's baby steps, right? Remember that old movie, What About Bob? Right? Baby steps.
Yes.
Shuffle out of the room instead of big steps. That's okay. Baby steps. Just move ahead an inch. inch at a time, a centimeter, keep moving ahead. But if we do that, and if we're serving others in the process, and we're trying to grow and learn, and we're proactively doing things like listening to podcasts or taking classes or going to the gym, or then it's like we expand and become more of who we currently are. I've seen you do that, most definitely, right? As I've seen our company doing it, I'm trying to do it. It's been really gratifying seeing you go through that process, right? And us go through that process together. It's been really one of the most cherished experiences of my life. We're out of time, but is there anything you'd want to share in closing, a last thought or a lesson or anything?
Sure. I think just to encourage people, if I can do it, if I can become a leader, if I can learn new skills, if I can, be a title holder, if I can help and support a team, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. We just have to try and have hope and belief that we have value and we have something each individually to give to the world, and that it's possible, for us to do that, and that it will be fulfilling, and that there's a need for each of us, and that there will be a place provided where we can give those gifts that we each have. And so, yeah, just encouragement for people to get out there and try something new and just believe that you're needed.
Don't be afraid of the unknown, right? Sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes it's not, but hey, that's part of life, right? If we didn't know what it felt like to be cold, we'd never know what it felt like to be warm.
Yeah.
Never had bad days, we wouldn't know what good days felt like. So, thanks for being on the call, Jill. I really appreciate it. It has been quite an honor to experience and watch and just cheer you on and learn from you and be inspired by you. I say that a lot, but you really do. You are an inspiration to us and our team. And I love how you seek to create more certainty in their lives, and by default in our community's lives and our customers' lives. And it's awesome. So thanks for being here. Happy birthday tomorrow. Yeah, 44 going on 21. I mean, you seem to get I seem to get older and older, and you seem to get younger and younger. You have to tell me your secret. Maybe we can bottle it.
Okay.
Call it Certainty Esquire or something like that, right?
Yeah, offering.
Certainty de Paris. I don't know. But Certainty Jill. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening today. If you're with us, appreciate you liking, sharing, commenting. Spread the word. We have some amazing guests like Jill every week. I do a monologue every month as we break down the principles of certainty. I'm going to do another one next week. I missed the first of the month this month. Things have been a little bit chaotic. We're transitioning to a new broadcasting company and excited about that, but in the interim we're kind of stuck in that transition period. But thanks for being here. As we always say, certainty is out there. You can find it. We can help. We wish the very best. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you here next Wednesday. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Thanks, Jill. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.